keep it just to one question because we're going to go about 20 minutes today. So I'll open up.
Good luck with that, Jerry.
Fourth row right, fifth row right, Spencer over at Letterman Row.
What's the one that's talking about all this? I feel like you're not exceeding that kind of.
Step in the right direction. You saw playing hard, and that's the expectation. They're not always going to be perfect, but we got to rock off the ball and finish people. And I felt like it started with that week of practice that they had last week. We built some momentum going into this week. It's got to happen again, starting today on Tuesday. It's a big practice for us, so we got to win the game up front in this game. That's no surprise to anybody, and they'll be a big part of it.
Fourth row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Right. Coach Raymond said yesterday that wants to be more aggressive in this game offensively than maybe was a year ago. With the situation you guys have, still an offensive line thing coming together, Kyle going on the road to hostile environment for the first time. How do you manage a game like this maybe differently, or do you do anything differently given kind of those scenarios going to a place like this?
Well, I think you build up, in these first few games to figure out where you are going into this game, and you go from there. But I think that we got some confidence going into this game, got a rhythm, so we got to have a great week of practice. But it's going to come down to winning the line of scrimmage for sure. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and who's going to be there in the end. And they have a really good team. Marcus does a great job. They have a great staff. So we got to go win a top 10 game on the road, and our guys are really excited for this game. You can see it Sunday, see it even yesterday, guys, buzzing around, and so now we got to have a great week of practice, and it's going to come down to who wants to compete more.
Over here to the right, Don Barrett, WBNS.
Coach, as you look at your football team right now going, what do you think is the most offensively?
I think we have a good balance. I think that's important when you talk about the wide receivers, the running backs, tight ends. You've seen even in 3 games, I think multiple guys produce, and that's good. When you can attack from different personnel groupings, and it forces defense to have to play the entire field. They can't just focus in on one guy or one thing that you're doing. So I think we have a good balance, and I think that's going to be important in this game.
Recommended play all, BSYX.
How big a tone setter could this be for you when you get to this checkpoint 4-0, say to win this game on the road? The way you kind of manipulated, you said you ratcheted up the intensity. Can you do it again 2 weeks in a row?
Oh yeah. That's what we don't have a choice, so we have to do. This is again top 10 game on the road, and this is why these are the kind of games why you come to Ohio State. This is an exciting series because it's not something that happens very often. Ohio State and Notre Dame, 2 of the bigger teams in the Midwest getting together for a home and home. Last year's atmosphere was electric. It'll be the same way on Saturday night. So our guys are really fired up for this.
Fourth row right, Cameron T. Robinson, the Athletic.
As a play caller, you're playing a defense that has performed as much confidence that's playing right now. How would you profile game playing a guy like that?
I mean, you always have to know where he is. You have to be aware of that, and you have to, be smart about what you're doing and how you're doing it. I think that's probably the biggest thing is when you're dealing with a great corner, you need to know where he is, and not that you're going to change your game plan, but you need to know, is it right, left, is it field boundary, those type of things, so that your quarterback has an idea of the matchups that he's dealing with. And the good news for us is we have multiple really good players back there, so that's the same thing on offense. When you're getting to games like this, oftentimes it can come down to the matchups, and you want to have enough depth and enough playmakers on both sides of the ball that when it comes to your star, your your next guy, your third guy, your fourth guy. Those are all matchups that you have that are in your favor. And that can happen in games like this.
Far left, Joe Nugent, WCMH.
It's a rare trip up to South Bend. You think you'll be able to take a moment, even though it is such a big game, to sort of soak in where you are and enjoy it for a second?
Probably not, but that's the game. Been there a few times when I was at Boston College. There's a lot of respect for the history of the program, what they've done, and grew up watching Notre Dame and wonderful program, great tradition. They do a great job. But yeah, I mean these are great moments. This is the highest level of college football, and all eyes will be on this game, and that's the way we love it.
Fourth row middle, Tony German, Buckeye Novel.
Brian, what were you most pleased with leaving the game, leaving the field last week on offense, defense, knowing what you're getting with this week?
Just the energy and the passion and the intensity that we played the game with. Didn't even remember exactly what the score was, but I remember how some guys played in that game, and just the overall intensity was there, and the challenge was there. So that's gonna lead into this week, and that was what we tried to get done. And so now it's gonna mean something here on Tuesday. We got to take the next step. Got to continue to ratchet it up because this is a bigger challenge.
Middle, Dave Middle, 20%.
Ask about Jay Florida, what impact has he had on the defense overall, especially this week? How much been there?
Yeah, I mean, not as much as you'd like to think, but he's done an unbelievable job since he's been here. He's helped out a ton. Being a graduate assistant, he's a accountable coach. Knows what it's like to walk in the shoes of an Ohio State football player, and he's played in the NFL, and he's got great experience that he can share with our guys, and our linebackers really enjoy that. So he's been a great addition to the staff.
Second row right, Bill Landis, broadcast, rivals.
But, how would you evaluate Kyle's decision?
Yeah, I think he's growing each week. I think you saw that. Not that everything's perfect, nothing is, and I think this week will be a big challenge to see where we're at. But it's been a gradual build up for our whole team, and for him to this point. And so now it's time to go play and see what we got. But we got to do a great job. Again, I keep saying it. These next couple of days to really prepare. I think I told you before. I get more worked up for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday than I do for the game. Gotta really be on point today, and have a great practice.
Second row middle, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
You brought up the CJ game a couple of times. We talked about both houses putting too much into play, and whether it's how you game plan, how you call plays, or it's production of other position groups, defense. Are you more confident that that won't be the case on Saturday, having put too much of golf play this early in his career started? And what does that look like to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, I think Kyle's, he has to go play the game, and we have to do whatever we can to win the game. That's the bottom line. Whatever that looks like, we're always looking for balance. We want balance. There's certain times where, like last year, we ran the ball a ton down the stretch, and we're good with making 5 or 6 yards or a carry. But then there's also times where you got to throw it more because of what they're doing and how the game's playing out. So we have to be able to pivot either way, whatever it takes to win the game.
Right behind it, Andy Andrews, Warriors.
Yeah, you talked about after the Georgia game last year being more expressive on the sideline. Like this. So on Saturday, how do you plan to strike that balance between showing that emotion, providing that intensity to the team, and also staying poised for the defense?
Yeah, well, I think it's just the overall team approach. Even last week, you could see guys were into the game. The sideline was passionate. Guys were. Coach Mick even got a penalty for walking on the field. But hey, sometimes things got to go down. You know what I mean? I think that's our mentality as a team. It isn't just the leaders. It isn't just the coaches. It's everybody. And that's the way we're going to be this week.
Front row right, Tim May. On three, the Tim May Show.
Thank you very much. So the referee crew from that sales greedy game that she got. This was good here. Kind of a two-part question, but it dovetails. The feeling you talk about after that game at Georgia, against Georgia, in Indianapolis about just feeling, hey, just go out and let it all hang out kind of approach. You have that confidence in Kyle that you can take that into this game. And then defensively also, have you seen enough to prove to yourself that this defense has taken the stride you want?
Yeah, and I think that this is a group that has played in the big stage. You know, they have, I mean, the majority of these guys have done that, and they've seen it. You know, even though Kyle really hasn't, been on that stage, he's seen it. He's been around. He knows what it looks like. And a lot of the guys coming back from last year's team they've been there before. So that's good going into it. And then, I think you saw last week what we're capable of. And so, yeah, I mean, it's all there, and now it's just time to go do it.
Right next door, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, very different, coach, different quarterback. You can tell, Hartman is a veteran. He's been around. He played a lot of football, accurate, very intelligent. A lot of good attributes for a quarterback. He's very good. Won a lot of games at Wake Forest. Obviously, he's 4-0 now. Efficient. And I think they're doing a really good job with him. They're running the ball. They're running the ball out of multiple personnel groupings and efficient. I think just a different style of quarterback than when they had, Buckner last year. That was more of a quarterback run and spread run game. This is a little bit more pro style. I think anytime you deal with a pro style run game, you're dealing with, run and play action. And, I think they want to establish the run. It's clear. You can tell that. I think Gaston is running really well. He's running hard. And then once that happens, it opens up things down the field. And so that kind of goes hand in hand. And they're doing a good job of that. They have a good plan put in place. And so, that's a good challenge for our defense. It's a long conversation about it all today. And we got to be able to rise to the challenge, understand exactly what you're talking about, because we've got to be aggressive, but we also, you have to make sure that, we're running the ball and giving great effort, avoiding big plays, all those types of things.
Third row, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, what's the biggest difference you see Ivan Williams this year that's allowed him to be more consistent at that?
Well, it's great to see him play 50 plays in this game. I thought there was actually times where he got better as the game went on. He's got power, he's got strength at the point of attack. He's very athletic, and he missed a little bit of time with a little bit of a tweaked injury at the beginning of preseason. And I think now he's finally got his feet back underneath him. I think, he's doing a better job with his hands. He's powerful, he's athletic. And so now, it's time for him to go play his best football in this game, along with the rest of the defensive line. It's a big challenge. They do have a good offensive line that's well documented. So, again, our guys have to have a great week of preparation.
Far left, Whitney Harding, WCMH.
Ryan, you talked about just the special matchup as far as these programs in the history. It's also a special matchup because there's so many crossover. I mean, Laurinaitis, they've already asked about him. There's a guy in fact third over there who knows Bonte, Lorenzo's now here. How neat is that? That there's so much crossover.
Yeah, I think maybe just because of the location of where we are and just, now that, Marcus is there and being a former Buckeye, there's, guys from Ohio in the program and vice versa. So, we're not in the same conference, but now that we're playing against each other, I guess, you recognize those things, but a lot of respect for that program, what they do. They do things the right way, and a lot of good coaches there and good players.
Austin Ward, rival, Bobcat.
Did they have a dog before or anything?
Nobody did run like we run on Sundays. You have to run for a penalty. He did do his penance for that.
When you compare, for example, how much in your mind stock percentage eventually you put on a way they made last year versus the 4 games that got
Yeah, you take everything into consideration. You watch everything, and you try to do the best you can to project out what you're going to see. Some of it is based on the personnel they have this year. Some of it is based on schematics. Things that they've seen this year, things that we have adapted on both sides of the ball. So, different on defense because, the defensive staff is pretty much intact. On offense, different coordinator, different quarterback. So, but they're a very veteran defense. they have a bunch of seniors on that team, a lot of guys who played a lot of football, so they know what they're trying to get done, and they force you to move the ball down the field, give you a lot of big plays, and they're very well coached.
Second roll left, Nate Barrett, lead the dog.
You were talking before about the progression that you were seeing from the Kyle and the rest of the offense. How it changed Saturday a little bit. Is Temple falling into that too, where you started things during the week in that regard that allow you to, I guess, keep you offense you want to move forward on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it plays a big part of the rhythm of the game. There's a give and take to all of this, but when our team is playing with tempo, they find themselves in a rhythm. They find some comfort in that, and so it's a tool that we use. Some games more than others, but you could see on Saturday, how our team got a rhythm using tempo. But there's also the big plays, the first play of the drives that were explosive, that weren't tempo, that I thought were well executed, but that all play into consideration, but it's got to come down to execution.
It wasn't necessarily a reaction hard to what you talked about before.
Well, I think in last week's game, we knew they were going to throw it a lot and go tempo, so it was less of a concern, where the last 2 weeks, it was like, how fast can we run plays, because the game is going to be over in less than 3 hours. Last week's game was going to be completely different, so we knew that. This is a matchup game, totally different. You just do everything you can to win the game.
Front row, Bill Reville, Columbus Dispatch.
You're asking a lot of questions. Here's how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we went through those 3 games to get to this point, with, some of the new faces that we had, and that we did work out some of the issues. And so excited to get on the field and go play this one now. I think that we have a pretty good idea who our team is and where we're at. So now it's time to go play. But yeah, to answer your question, we are in a much different place than we were week 1. Again, I think in matchup games, like, it really doesn't matter the score as long as you win. I think I get it when you're playing, Western Kentucky, it's a little bit of an eye test there and all that. But in that game, I thought we controlled the ball, we ran the ball, and the time of possession was really important there, and we won the game. I think that's in that game. That was the right thing to do. Now you just never know what's going to come in this game, how it's going to shake out, what the back and forth is going to be, and the ultimate goal is to win the game. That's it. And that's what we'll do in this one. But yeah, I mean, I think, looking back on that game, there were some things we did well, some things that we could have really done much better, but it was the first game of the year, and, weren't clean on some things, but there were some things that we did do well.
Doug Lane Reese, Kings of Columbus, podcast.
Last year, Tyler Buckeyes making his first start, CJ Stack, starter, out Sam Hartman's been out forever, this is still for Kyle. In general, how much do you think quarterback experience matters in like equal talent games on a big time stage like this? Is it a factor?
Yeah, I think it's a factor. Yeah. How much you want, I think, Kyle's up, been around. He hasn't played a whole bunch of football, but he has been around. He's seen it. So he's older and more mature than maybe a freshman who's coming into the same situation. But no, I think experience does play a part of it. It's not the number one thing overall. I mean, there's a lot of other things that come with it, but I do think it's significant.
And you have to play the games whenever you play. Last year was week 1.
Right.
Now you play it 3 days, play 4. You just feel like you know more about your team,
right?
Maybe more about the opponent when a big time game like this is a little bit later in the schedule.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. You played 4, we played 3, so it is a different approach than it would be for game 1.
Fourth row, Andy Backstrom, Letterman row.
Right, I know you decided to launch from that playing among the best. What stands out about that?
Again, some guys who played a bunch of football. I think both corners are playing well. The safeties are playing well. I think the linebackers are excellent. Seen a lot of football, played a lot of football. I mean, they're good players. There's some NFL players on that defense. They're well coached. Again, they don't give you a lot of freebies, not a lot of missed assignments. They tackle well, they're physical. So it's exactly what we expected. So, we got to go play well.
Far right advocate, WB the net.
Maybe Dane without a starter to kind of gain confidence on the field, but off the field, I was just for the week. And we've seen the locker room Kyle change and kind of grow out of the guy.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think you've seen a little bit of a different approach. He had his best week of practice last week, whether that was a coincidence or not, I'm not sure. But we'll see going into this week. But I do. I thought he graded out really well, on Saturday, and hopefully he can play his best football here this week. But I think that there was a little pep in his step for sure.
Record score, Andrew Gillis, Cleveland.com.
Building off the age, but with Benjamin Morris, what stands out to you when you watch him? Are you guys game planning as if all of them are around on 8% of the field?
No, but we're gonna just do what we do. But at the same time, he's a very good corner, good cover skills, competitive, good change of direction, runs well. He's very talented.
Third row right, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
He started the kind of elevator job, like I can't take off. What is it?
Yeah, but when we need him to play great, his approach has been excellent. His competitiveness every day has been great. I think he's running hard. He's a weapon in a lot of areas, and yeah, that can be a difference maker for us. But I thought he ran hard last year's game. He and Mayan both. So again, it's like anybody else. I mean, they got to play their best football, but you're seeing, a guy run downhill and make big plays, and he's certainly a threat once he gets in the open field. No, we haven't really put any kind of depth on that part of it. We'll still kind of roll the guys, but all are going to play.
Thank you, Coach. We're gonna wrap it up with Coach Cookies for Tim May, not free.
I don't know why you raised my hand, I never called.
These black population you saw, you're seeing.
Well, I never say that.
With Travion and Trey. I mean, the Trey, he surprised you a little bit the way he's stepped up, came back.
Yeah, I know he hasn't surprised me because of his work ethic in the offseason. He's got real speed, he's got power, he's got 1-2, he's got a really good leader, great attitude, tough. And so this was kind of what I thought we would see.
And in a nutshell, you can see he's in his sixth year, right? I mean, how does it show up?
Just poise, decision making, overall command of the game, and then execution.
Coach, thank you very much.
That's it.
People want to ever say that.
defense and so able to read defense as well and have such a high completion percentage without making mistakes.
He's smart, he's efficient, he's experienced, right? I mean, when you have a lot of experience as a quarterback, it helps you figure things out, get rid of the ball. He has great vision.
Front row, middle, Dave Middle, 24/7 Sports.
Jim, I want to ask about Jim going on what he added to linebackers to this. Your thoughts on working with him and what he's been able to add to the defense.
James is just a wonderful person, number one, to have around. Two, you know, a legend at Ohio State, so he can relate to, you know, what the current players go through on a daily basis. That old, so he's, you know, still close enough to their age where he can, you know, be a real mentor to the guys. Then you take the experience of playing in the NFL, right? So when it gets to certain individualized techniques, he brings a lot to the table.
The deep center field, Jeremy Burke on 3, the podcast.
Jim,
We take that back, rivals, the podcast.
Jim, when you, you know, last week you come out, Sonny's basically playing in the slot on a wide receiver in the first play of the game and doesn't play a lot the rest of the game because Jordan's in there and then Sonny's in there when it's 63-10 at the end. How do you balance that? I mean, is it just totally based on matchups or are you just trying to get a feel for how someone's reacting, moving early in the game? I mean, how do you figure out which rotation? Because Sonny's athletic enough to be out there in that spot.
Yeah, it's all part of the plan. You know, it's a week-to-week plan, which, you know, where we want to utilize the talents of our players, but like you said, also get the matchups right and do what they do best. So it just worked out that way in that game, and we knew it was going to be a lot of you know, true nickel because of the passing attack.
What did you think about Jordan's, you know, his response to getting depth with reps?
You know, I thought he made some plays, and I think, you know, he's still a work in progress at that position. He just needs repetition and continued coaching, but he has the skill.
Fourth row right, Andy Baxter, Letterman Row.
Jim, the Notre Dame running back, Patrick, that's a lot of them. It's kind of a bell cow at this point. What kind of challenge to the defense, especially this time?
You know, it's the running back combined with the offensive line. The offensive line is talented. You know, the tackles are excellent, and he's a strong running back. So when you have an offensive line that works well together, and you know they're physical and they push at the point of attack, he's a guy who can get behind that and strong runner, but also elusive. He can also make the cuts. So I think it's a real challenge for us to, you know, play behind our pads and play downhill because you're going to have to put your face in the fan.
Right next door, Cameron T. Robinson, the Athletic.
Jim, you talked a lot about going to that Western game about this being the first true test of the second there. Watch that game back. What you learn about this?
Yeah, I mean, I learned that we could compete at a high level against, you know, a guy who I think is going to be an NFL quarterback and a receiver who I think is an NFL receiver. I think they had those two players were premier talents. So, you know, it gets harder and harder every week, but that's why they're at the Ohio State and me too. So but you take from it that, okay, we're, you know, in the passing game, we're going to contest and we're going to compete. And I think that's what we want to do this year.
Right behind it, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Jim, you guys have rotated a lot. That's one. Obviously, you kind of imagine you want to see that pared down a little bit. Keep your best guys on the field at all times. One when you have.
No, I think we go with our plan. We want to keep those guys fresh, play as many as we can. We want to be strong in the fourth quarter, so we'll continue that way.
Second row right, Greece, Kings of Columbus, the podcast.
talked about Notre Dame's offensive line. When an opponent has an offensive line like that, do you need to think about how do you then decide how much you're going to blitz to get the pressure you want? If you feel like maybe, I don't know, if you don't blitz, maybe you don't get as much pressure, even though you guys have to.
Such is the dilemma, right? I mean, week to week, you know, really is. And you know, you take it play by play and situation by situation, and, you know, you want to always have something to change up, keep them off balance. It's just, I guess that's why I work all those hours. If there was an easy answer to that question, I'd be smoking a cigar right now.
It does. They'll protect, right? Run the ball, protect, and then maybe take a deep shot. Your ability of your secondary right now, even if the department's back there all day, what's your confidence level in your secondary to still be able to defend down the field?
You know, I'm confident, but we won't stop practicing. You know, I think we'll keep practicing. You know, but I'm confident we're staying on top of things, right? We're staying on top of things, keeping it in front, and limiting the explosive plays, and that's a big deal.
Right next door, Stephen Beans, Cleveland.com.
Oh, something about late that game on Saturday, or it's like high. And I mean, you guys are for 2 months and have one time. Like, how comfortable is he at other spots other than maybe this is something that essentially explore the game sometime down the line?
Yes, he's comfortable at both. Talented young man who also has great football intelligence. So yeah, we're gonna keep working with him in different ways without overloading him. You know, it is a balance because we want him to play fast.
I guess Dan Holt left more. Jim, what difference you've seen from Tyler Williams that has allowed him to take more consistent attacks of Marvin?
To be healthy. You know, I mean, Tyleek is extremely athletic, really athletic. And, you know, he needs the repetitions, missed a lot of reps during camp, right? So the more repetitions that he gets, it just seems like the better he becomes. But staying healthy is a big thing.
Right, from Mason Fair and Cleveland.com. These last first 3 games have been a lot of legitimate reasons, maybe why that's line doesn't is the quarterback. This game where they do kind of focus on offense. Do you feel like you have to feel the defensive line to forming a rush in the pass rush? Or in order to
They have to keep doing what they're doing. You know, last game was interesting. I don't know how many sacks we got, only a couple, I think. But when you watch the tape, I mean, he was under duress all the time. And I think that's sometimes missed, you know. So we just got to keep doing what we're doing up front. Talented, hardworking guys. You know, it is, we want the sacks and the quarterback hits, but it's also about getting the ball out on time, you know, making sure the ball gets out on time, and we've been doing that.
front row, Bill Billings, Columbus Dispatch.
Similar question. I think you guys are probably. Last 3 so far, over the last 2 games. 3 games. What about it?
I never feel good. I mean, there's not a time that I feel good. That's not something that I should, you know, it's a constant striving to get better. Now you emphasize the positives, you see things, you build on that, you know, and that builds confidence. So I think, you know, we just need to keep getting better at that confident approach, you know, and the more reps you get, the more plays you make, those all count. They're like in the bank, you know what I mean? So to me, it's just all about a continued mindset of confidence in controlling the game on defense. You know, I mean, it's really just continue to push the mindset. Playing excellent. And they're talented, coachable, Ohio State type young men, you know, and you really couldn't ask for more out of either of them. They're going to do whatever you ask them to do. They're going to be coachable. They're going to see their mistakes. They're going to fix them. They're just really great young men. I'm very pleased with both of them.
All right, off the board, rivals, the Bobcats. Opportunity to been there. What do you think that Chip could help?
You know, I love Chip just as a person too, close to him, just as a person, just a great kid. Yeah, you know, he's very athletic and he's physical. So, you know, I was looking forward to the chance to work with him because, you know, I definitely thought he could be like a Malcolm Rodriguez type, you know, who's now with the Lions that we had at Oklahoma State. So, you know, there was a lot of potential there, but Chip's also a team guy. He's going to do whatever coaches ask him, and just a great kid.
Right next door, Tim May show on three.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. Dovetailing off of that, I've been around Skill Chambers, you've been around Chip. Skill Chambers showed up as running back, linebacker. Chip came back here as a linebacker, he's a running back. What makes those guys tick? Indeed, you know, what's special? I guess, you know, obviously, you talked about Chip a little bit, but Skill too. Are they in the right place now? I think that's, you know, you're a football coach. Huh?
Yeah, but they only pay me to coach defense, so anything else is above my pay grade. So you know, it's that combination of athleticism and physicality and football intelligence. I think that they both have, right? I mean, that's what makes Steele good at the position is that it's that football intelligence. When you see the big picture, you know that you're not just locked into one thing. And both of them are like that, you know, and great team guys too. So really versatile.
As you prepare for this game, how much are you, what you've seen on video, are you able to apply compared to what you saw last year from these guys? You're coming from an offensive standpoint. Can you put in layman's terms how much they've changed? They almost look to me like Joe Gibbs offense for Redskins. I mean, like, want to run that power and throw over the top. But what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, you really just, I think when you're in these situations, you focus on what you have to see in front of you with 4 games, you know, and you check on some things from this year, but they certainly look different, and you have to look at the personnel and particularly the quarterback, new offensive line coach, right? So you have some different schemes coming up.
Right next door, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
You know, decision making, you know, I think is huge, and you know, leadership from a quarterback. Obviously, he's an impressive guy to be able to come in there and be a captain as a transfer. You know, so I think it's that decision making and leadership that he brings to the table that makes him different. Yeah, I mean, it goes along kind of what Tim said about the offense. You know, it's become a running, you know, smash mouth offense with shots over the top. You know, so I think it really fits what they're doing, and it's definitely something we have to be prepared for.
Fourth row middle, Tony Gertman, Buckeye Huddle.
I guess right along with that, you had mentioned, I think last week, about finding out more about your pass rush. How much do you know about your secondary's ability to handle this play action?
You know, what I've seen so far is good. You know, is good. There's an understanding of how to be on top, you know, of how to play those, you know, giant crossing routes. You've seen some of that show up, you know, and a lot of plays that you're seeing in the NFL. So there's an understanding there. There's been execution. You know, you got to keep pressing it because it gets more every week against better opponents. It just gets tougher to do.
How much different is this challenge in that regard than?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything, right? I mean, it's a matchup game, you know, so the intensity level increases, you know, but it still always comes back to habits. You know, what kind of habits do you have and your training? But yeah, I mean, it's different every week, and this is certainly a huge test.
And we'll wrap up on questions for Coach Knowles, technical right, Bill Landis, Riles, the podcast.
Jim, since you've been here, you seem really excited about being able to use Mitchell wherever available to you. I think to this point, it's mostly been like late game stuff. How do you feel about the reps building up and it's really comfortable?
I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable now, you know. It's just got to be part of the game plan, you know, and it's in and you never know when you're going to see it.
Thank you very much.